People think the most powerful man on a football pitch is the one who scores the goals. It isn't. It's the man in the black shirt who decides whether the goal counts. You grew up in a mid-sized city in southern Europe, not poor enough to be a cautionary tale, not comfortable enough to stop noticing money. Your father refereed amateur Sunday league games for 16 years, earned the equivalent of €40 a weekend. He pressed his black shirt the night before every match with the same seriousness other men reserved for job interviews. You watched him do this from the kitchen doorway when you were 9 years old, and you thought, without irony, without any sense of what it would cost you, that he looked important. You start refereeing at 14. Youth academy matches. You are precise, fast, and constitutionally incapable of letting a bad call stand uncorrected. This last quality, which everyone around you labels as integrity, will later become the most useful thing about you to the people who want to own you. A referee who never makes bad calls does not get accused of making deliberate ones. By 23, you are on the national second division list. By 27, you are officiating top-flight matches. By 29, you are assigned your first European fixture, a UEFA group stage game. 62,000 people in the stadium. Your name announced over the PA system in a language you don't speak. You call a perfect game. Afterward, a man you don't recognize waits for you outside the official's tunnel. He introduces himself as a consultant for a sports management company. He tells you that you handled the second-half penalty decision, the one where you waved play on, despite significant pressure from the home side's captain, with remarkable composure. He says he admires people who don't crack under pressure. He gives you a card with just a phone number on it. No name. You take it because refusing feels rude. The man's name is Dragan. You find this out 6 weeks later over dinner at a restaurant in a city that is not your city, at a table in the back that is specifically not visible from the entrance. Dragan is 51, former league administrator, gray at the temples. The kind of man who orders for the table without asking and is always right about it. He doesn't waste time on anything he considers unnecessary, and he considers most things unnecessary. He explains the world to you in the language of logistics, not crime. First lesson? A referee is judged on consistency. Consistency means your decision-making patterns are predictable. Predictable patterns can be understood, modeled, and, where useful, reinforced. What he means is, if you already have a documented tendency to give the home side the benefit of the doubt on 50-50 decisions, and every referee does, statistically it's been measured, then occasionally leaning into that tendency in specific matches is not corruption. It is, technically, doing exactly what you always do, just with slightly more intention. He pauses to let this settle. Second lesson. The people paying you are not asking you to lose matches for anyone. They are asking you to manage outcomes at the margins. A penalty given in the 68th minute instead of the 70th. A second yellow card that arrives or doesn't arrive for a specific player. A goal disallowed for an offside that is genuinely marginal. You would have needed VR to be sure anyway, and VR isn't always there. He says, we don't ask you to be wrong. We ask you to be human. Third lesson. You are never the only one. The system works because it involves multiple people across multiple levels. Match commissioners, fourth officials, occasionally a VAR operator who knows how long to wait before flagging. You are a node, not the network. This is meant to be reassuring. It isn't. Fourth lesson. You are paid in ways that cannot be traced. A consultancy fee from a sports analytics firm you'll never visit. A speaking honorarium from a coaching conference you didn't attend. Your name on an invoice for services rendered. Completely legal on paper. The paper is the point. You tell yourself you are still deciding. You fly home the next morning. 3 days later, you call the number. The first match is almost insultingly small. A mid-table league game between two clubs with no realistic ambitions for the season. You are asked, and this is how it is phrased, asked, to ensure that a specific player on the home side receives a yellow card before the 60-minute mark. The player is a midfielder, aggressive, undisciplined. On another day, you might have booked him anyway. On this day, you book him in the 44th minute for a challenge that you personally grade a 4 out of 10. 3 weeks later, you find €14,000 distributed across 2 separate invoices in your account. For a business consultation you provided to a Maltese sports media company. You spend the money on your daughter's university tuition. First semester fees. You tell your wife you had a good run of extra assignments from the Federation. She believes you immediately. This is worse than if she had asked questions. The second match is bigger. A derby. 90,000 capacity ground, live on satellite TV in 40 countries. 2 sets of fans who would happily watch each other dissolve in acid. You are asked to manage the penalty area. Specifically, to apply a higher threshold for awarding spot kicks to the visiting side. In the 31st minute, a visiting striker goes down in the box under clear contact. You wave play on. The replays are shown 11 times on the broadcast. 3 different pundits disagree on whether it was a penalty. One says definitively it was. One says definitively it wasn't. One says the angle is inconclusive. The angle is not inconclusive. You were standing 4 meters away. You know exactly what you saw. The home side wins 2-1. Dragan texts you a single word. Elegant. You receive 22,000 euros. Across 3 separate companies, 3 separate countries. The third match is where it becomes something else entirely. Champions League knockout stage. A match that means, genuinely means, whether a club continues in the most watched club competition on the planet. The kind of game that 7-year-olds in Jakarta are watching on a laptop at midnight. 140 million viewers across streaming and broadcast combined. You are not asked to hand anyone the match. You are asked to expire it. A specific player, a forward for the favored side, has been the subject of a substantial spread position on yellow cards. He already has one in the tournament. A second would suspend him for the next leg. In the 78th minute, he challenges fairly for a ball near the halfway line. Clean, no malice, normal professional contact. You pull the yellow. The stadium erupts. The player's teammates surround you. His manager is already off the bench, face the color of a brake light. You stand completely still. You have the face of a man doing math, not a man making a choice. This is something Dragan told you in that restaurant 2 years ago. The body language is half the job. If you look uncertain, people investigate. If you look bored, people accept. You look bored. 48 hours later, your total arrangement for that calendar year passes 112,000 euros. You are still officially an employee of the National Football Federation, earning 38,000 a year. By a few years, you have a clearer picture of the machinery. It is not, as you imagined it might be, some centralized criminal organization giving orders from a penthouses somewhere. It is messier than that. More like a consultancy ecosystem. Multiple overlapping networks, some Asian, some Eastern European, some with roots in legitimate sports investment, all of them operating on the same basic principle. Information asymmetry creates profit, and referees are information. You know the result before the market does. Not because someone told you the result, because you are the result. There are betting syndicates that operate specifically on referee-adjacent outcomes, not match results. Specifics. First booking. Total cards issued. Whether a penalty is awarded before or after the 65th minute. Whether a game ends in the exact scoreline that triggers certain Asian handicap settlements. The markets are vast, largely unregulated in jurisdictions that matter, and move enormous sums in 30-second windows. You are a financial instrument. This is not a metaphor. Somewhere, in a spreadsheet you will never see, your reliability is expressed as a percentage. Your yield, your consistency across assignments, the markup you justify relative to cheaper, less credible officials. You have quarterly value. You have a portfolio rating. Dragan explains this to you at one point with genuine pride, the way a mentor talks about a student who turned out well. He says the people at the top refer to reliable officials as blue chips, as opposed to erratic ones, who are penny stocks. Useful sometimes, but you can't build a position around them. You are a blue chip. The match is in late autumn. A league game. Nothing on the surface remarkable about it. A struggling club from a city you have been to twice, against a mid-table side going nowhere in particular. You are asked, via the usual channels, to ensure a specific result. Nothing complicated. A single disallowed goal in the second half, offside call, genuinely marginal, the kind of thing VAR will look at and give you the technical cover on. What Dragan's people did not account for, what no one in the network accounted for, is that the struggling club is playing for survival. They are 4 points from relegation with 8 games left. The goal you disallow in the 63rd minute would have made it 2-1. Instead, the game finishes 1-1. A point that is, in the table arithmetic, not enough. They are relegated 7 weeks later on goal difference. You follow this from a distance the way you follow most things now, clinically. Then you see an interview. A player, 22 years old, came through the club's academy system, grew up in the same street as the stadium, has never played for another club, has never wanted to. After the relegation is confirmed, he sits in front of a camera with the specific exhaustion of someone who has not slept in 4 days. And he says, plainly, without drama, the way someone talks when they've run out of energy for performance, that he doesn't know what he'll do now. His contract won't be renewed. There's no budget in the second division for his wages. He has a daughter who is 18 months old. He says the goal in the 63rd minute, against that team. He watched the replay 50 times. He still doesn't understand how it was offside. You watch this interview on your phone in a hotel room in a different country. You watch it 3 times. On the 3rd time, you notice your hand is shaking. Not dramatically, just enough to know it's there. You call Dragan. You tell him you want to pause. There is a silence on the phone that takes approximately 4 seconds. In the context of your relationship with Dragan, 4 seconds of silence is the equivalent of another man screaming. He says, very quietly, "You don't pause, my friend. You have never paused. This is not something we do. He pauses himself. Think about your daughter. Think about how she's finishing her master's. Think about where that money comes from. He hangs up. You sit in the hotel room for a long time. You don't call anyone. You don't make any decisions. But something has shifted in the architecture of how you think about yourself. And once that kind of structural crack appears, it does not close on its own. The investigation begins without a sound. You find out about it the way you find out about most dangerous things. Secondhand, late, when the people with more to lose than you have already adjusted their positions. A contact inside a Federation Disciplinary Committee mentions, over coffee, that Europol's match-fixing unit has been conducting what they describe as a listening exercise across several European competitions for the past 14 months. 14 months. You do the math backward through your last 14 months of work and you feel the floor shift slightly under your feet. 3 weeks later, one of the VAR operators in the network, a man you met twice, knew only by a first name, is arrested at an airport in Germany. His phone is seized. His laptop is seized. He is, according to the Europol press release, cooperating with authorities. You don't know what's on the phone. You don't know what's on the laptop. You don't know what cooperating means in terms of specific names, specific matches, specific amounts that arrived in specific accounts on specific dates. Dragon goes silent. Not gradually. Completely. His number disconnects within 48 hours of the arrest. His consultancy company website goes offline. The sports management firm whose letterhead appears on your invoices has been dissolved, you discover, and formally registered in a different country under a different name. The paper trail that was always designed to protect you has been folded into a new piece of origami you don't recognize. You are now standing in the middle of something built specifically to collapse inward without leaving fingerprints, and you are one of the fingerprints. A journalist calls your Federation number, introduces herself, says she is working on a piece about structural integrity in European officiating, and would welcome your perspective as a senior official with extensive continental experience. You say you are unavailable and hang up. She calls back the next day. You don't answer. The day after that, her article runs. It does not name you, but it describes, in forensic detail, a pattern of decisions across 6 specific matches, and it describes a senior Italian registered official with UEFA Category A status whose decision-making in those matches produced outcomes that, when cross-referenced with verified betting market movements, showed a statistical probability of coincidence that the journalist's data analyst places at 1 in 43,000. 1 in 43,000. Your name is not in the article, but you recognize every single match she describes. You have, it turns out, been keeping records. Not for this moment. Not with any heroic forward planning. You kept them the way certain people keep old receipts. Compulsively, anxiously, with no clear purpose other than a primitive need to hold evidence that the things you did actually happened. A folder on an encrypted drive. Dates, match IDs, message threads you screenshot and saved before deleting. The invoices, all of them, with the originating accounts. Dragon's instructions on 3 separate occasions, sent via a messaging app he believed auto-deleted. He was correct that they deleted on his end. You have 47 documents. You sit with this drive in your hands for 3 days. Then you call a number. Not Dragon's number. A number you have had saved under a contact name that reads insurance. A sports law attorney in Switzerland you consulted once, in the abstract, about a hypothetical official who had become involved in arrangements that might require eventual legal navigation. She remembers you. You meet her in Zurich. You sit across from her in an office that is nothing like Vasquez's office, functional, fluorescent, practical, and you place the drive on the desk. She looks at it. She looks at you. She says, "This covers you how much and implicates who else?" You tell her. She is quiet for a long time. Then she says, "I need you to understand that the moment we open this, you have started something you cannot stop, and the people in this drive will know within days that it was you." You say, "I know." She says, "And your family?" You think about the 22-year-old midfielder, his daughter, 18 months old, the goal in the 63rd minute, the hand that shook in the hotel room. You say, "I know." She opens her laptop. The investigation becomes the largest match-fixing case in European football history in a decade. Europol issues a joint statement with 4 national police agencies, 14 arrests across 3 countries, a betting syndicate with verified turnover of 230 million euros dismantled, a UEFA disciplinary process that runs for 18 months and results in bans, fines, and reforms to VAR appointment procedures that 4 different member federations resist publicly and implement quietly. Your name is in the case files. You are not prosecuted. The cooperation agreement covers you. But your name is in the case files, which eventually, inevitably, becomes public in the way that everything in case files eventually becomes public. You are banned from officiating for life. Your federation strips your records. Your European assignments are retroactively flagged. Your name will exist in the history of the sport now, with an asterisk that will outlast any memory of the games you called correctly, and there were many. You called thousands of correct decisions for every wrong one you sold. It doesn't work like that, though. The ledger isn't balanced by volume. Your father is still alive, 73 years old. He still has the photograph from the day you were appointed to your first European match. It sat on his mantelpiece for 12 years. You don't know if it's still there. You haven't asked. Here is the part you didn't expect, the part nobody who has never been inside this kind of system would think to warn you about. It is not the things you did that stay with you. It is the things you were trusted not to do. 62,000 people in that first European stadium. Your name announced over the PA. They trusted the man in the black shirt to be the one honest variable. In a sport full of money and tribalism and pressure and theater, the referee is the institution. The one person on the pitch that both sides agree, contractually, is supposed to be incorruptible. And the reason they trusted you is because you were trustworthy. That was the thing they bought. Not your corruption, your reputation for not being corrupt. You look at your father's photograph of you in that stadium and you understand, finally, that the most expensive thing you ever sold was the thing that had no price on it. And the buyer paid you in installments. And you let them.